What if one small request could turn your entire world upside down? Emily Harper never thought an ordinary Thursday would leave her standing on the edge of something life-changing. The office was nearly empty. Computers shutting down, chairs pulled back, the sound of footsteps fading toward the elevator. She had her bag over her shoulder, her mind already wandering toward her tiny apartment, and the quiet comfort of a cup of tea. Just as she reached for her coat, a voice broke the silence. "Emily," Daniel Wright called softly. Her breath caught. Daniel was her boss, a man she had admired from afar, though she never admitted it, not even to herself. He was always professional, measured, with eyes that revealed little of what he truly felt. But tonight his voice carried something unusual, hesitation. Why did his voice feel different tonight? She turned, and their eyes met across the dim office. His sleeves were rolled up, his tie loosened, a rare image of a man who usually seemed untouchable. "Could you stay back for a while? I need your help." Emily hesitated, torn between the comfort of home and the weight of his request. Her instincts whispered she should say no, that she had done enough for the day. But the way he looked at her, tired, vulnerable, made it impossible. She nodded. As the last of the staff disappeared, a hush settled over the space. The air conditioner hummed softly, the lights above casting pale reflections across the glass walls. Emily walked slowly toward his office, her heartbeat quickening with every step. Inside, Daniel leaned against his desk, papers scattered but untouched. He didn't look like the boss she knew. He looked human, and strangely unsettled. What could be troubling the man who never seemed to break? Emily placed her bag on the chair and waited for instructions. But he didn't hand her a file. He didn't mention numbers, emails, or deadlines. Instead, he ran a hand through his hair and sighed. "This isn't exactly about work," he confessed. Her heart skipped. She forced a small laugh, pretending to ease the tension. "Then what is it about?" Daniel didn't answer immediately. His silence stretched, filling the room with a quiet weight. He turned toward the window, the city lights blinking in the distance, then back to her with an expression she couldn't read. For months, she had studied his mannerisms, the way he stood during meetings, the steady calm in his tone, the polite distance he kept from everyone. He was respected, admired, and yet utterly unreachable. But now, in this dimly lit office, he seemed anything but distant. Why did it feel like the ground was shifting beneath her feet? Emily's mind raced. She tried to convince herself it was a simple favor, maybe a project he needed help with, maybe something routine. But a part of her knew better. The way he looked at her wasn't routine. It wasn't professional. Daniel finally spoke, his voice lower than before. "You don't have to stay if you don't want to. I needed someone I could trust." Her chest tightened. Trust. That word carried a weight she wasn't prepared for. She searched his face for answers, for clarity, but all she found was sincerity. And something more, something he was holding back. Emily swallowed hard. She could have excused herself, could have said she was tired, could have left without looking back, but she stayed. Something about this moment felt important, like walking away would mean losing a piece of a story that was only beginning. Was she stepping into something she couldn't undo? The clock on the wall ticked louder in the silence, reminding her how strange it was to be here with him, alone, long after the world outside had moved on. Daniel leaned forward, his hands resting on the desk, his eyes locked on hers. "I've been meaning to tell you something," he said quietly. Emily's breath caught again. The words hung between them, fragile, dangerous. She shifted in her seat, gripping the strap of her bag for strength. She wanted to speak, to ask what he meant, but her voice betrayed her. All she could do was wait. And with every second of waiting, her heart pounded louder, telling her this night would not end the way it began. Why do the people we least expect always surprise us the most? Emily followed Daniel into his office, and the moment the door clicked shut, the air shifted. The familiar room suddenly felt different, heavy with silence. Normally this was a space of strategy meetings, project updates, and formal conversations. Tonight it felt like something else entirely. Daniel loosened his tie, set it aside, and pressed his palms against the desk. Emily noticed the smallest tremor in his hands. That alone unsettled her. He was the kind of man who never faltered, never let emotions seep through his polished exterior. Yet here he was, fragile in a way she had never seen before. Why did he suddenly seem less like her boss and more like a man in pain? Emily tried to ease the tension with a nervous smile. So, what exactly do you need help with? Her voice sounded lighter than she felt. Daniel lifted his gaze, and his eyes met hers. The intensity in them nearly stole her breath. This isn't about work, he admitted. The words hit her harder than she expected. Her pulse quickened, her thoughts scattered. What did he mean? Why was she here if it wasn't work? She wanted to ask, but her throat felt dry. Her questions tangled in fear and anticipation. Daniel walked slowly to the window, looking out at the glowing city. For a long moment he stayed quiet, as if he were gathering courage. Finally, his voice came steady but quiet. I've been carrying something for months, and I can't pretend anymore. Emily's stomach tightened. She gripped her bag strap, fighting the urge to run. But something inside her rooted her to the spot, whispering that this night wasn't meant to be ordinary. Why did his words feel like the beginning of a secret she wasn't ready to hear? He turned back to her, his shoulders heavy, his expression raw. Emily, he said softly, you make the hardest days bearable. Do you realize that? She blinked. His words caught her off guard, sharp and gentle at the same time. Daniel, she tried. But he raised his hand slightly, stopping her. I know I shouldn't say this, he continued, his voice low. But you're the reason I get through the week. You don't see it, but the way you work, the way you carry yourself, you make this place feel less cold. Emily's breath grew shallow. She had dreamed of moments like this. Small, impossible daydreams during late nights at her desk. But to hear it aloud from him was something else entirely. Her heart and mind battled. One whispered yes, the other shouted danger. He was her boss. He was off limits. But the sincerity in his voice made it impossible to dismiss. Was this confession real? Or was she only imagining it? Daniel stepped closer, slow, deliberate, as though afraid she might vanish if he moved too quickly. I don't know when it happened, Emily, he confessed. But I can't ignore it anymore. Her chest tightened. The distance between them closed, and suddenly the room felt too small. Every detail stood out. The faint cologne he wore, the tired lines on his face, the weight in his eyes. Emily forced herself to speak. Daniel, this isn't right. You're my boss. Her voice shook, but she had to say it. He exhaled, nodding slightly. I know, believe me, I know. I've told myself the same thing 100 times. But does repeating it change how I feel? Her heart pounded so loudly she wondered if he could hear it. She had always seen him as untouchable, someone far above her world. Yet here he was, breaking rules, breaking walls, standing before her not as a boss, but as a man who cared. Could she push him away when every part of her wanted to stay? The tension was unbearable. Emily took a small step back, trying to breathe, but Daniel's gaze held her in place. His words weren't reckless. They were careful, almost desperate. I'm not asking for answers tonight, he said, voice thick with honesty. I just needed you to know. Pretending has been harder than I thought. Emily's hands trembled. Her mind screamed for distance, for logic, but her heart clung to every word. She felt the pull, the kind of pull you can't plan for, the kind that changes everything. Silence wrapped around them like a fragile thread, holding them in a place neither of them expected to be. The night outside the window seemed to lean closer, the city lights watching, waiting. And then, suddenly, Daniel's phone lit up on the desk. The sharp vibration shattered the stillness. Why did one name on a glowing screen feel like a storm rolling in? Emily's eyes darted to the phone. She didn't mean to, but the name was impossible to miss. Claire. Her stomach dropped. She looked at Daniel quickly, searching his face. His expression changed instantly. The calm, the openness, it all vanished, replaced by tension and regret. He silenced the call without a word, his jaw tight, his shoulders stiff. For the first time that night, he looked away from her. Emily's chest ached. That name, Claire, sounded like more than just a distraction. It sounded like history, like someone who still mattered. She wanted to ask, to demand answers, but fear held her tongue. She was already caught in something fragile, and now another name threatened to shatter it all. What happens when the truth you dreamed of finally collides with reality? Emily's hands trembled, her heart racing faster than she could steady. The name Claire still burned in her mind like a warning she couldn't ignore. The silence stretched too long, each second making the air in Daniel's office heavier, more suffocating. Finally, she found her voice, soft and unsteady. "Daniel, this isn't supposed to happen." "But what do you do when your heart refuses to listen to reason?" Daniel's eyes met hers, pained and raw. "I know. Believe me, Emily, I've told myself that every single day. I've reminded myself of rules, of lines I should never cross. But pretending hasn't made the feelings disappear. It's only made it worse." Emily wanted to argue, to remind him that feelings didn't erase consequences. But looking at him now, she saw not the polished boss everyone admired, but a man stripped of his shield, vulnerable in ways she never imagined. And that vulnerability scared her almost as much as it drew her in. Her voice cracked when she spoke again. "Why me? You could have anyone, Daniel. Why say this to me?" He shook his head, stepping closer. "Because it's you. It's always been you. The way you carry yourself, the way you see people. Emily, you're not like anyone else." Her breath caught. The words she had once only dreamed of hearing were suddenly real, spoken into the stillness of his office. Was this the beginning of love, or the start of heartbreak? She turned her gaze to the floor, trying to gather the storm of thoughts inside her. She had longed for this, yes, but not like this. Not in the shadows of an office, not under the weight of unspoken rules and forbidden lines. "You don't know what you're asking," she whispered. "You don't know what this could cost both of us." Daniel's voice softened, almost pleading. "I'm not asking for anything tonight. I just couldn't hide it anymore. You deserve the truth, even if it scares us both." The sincerity in his tone made her chest ache. She wanted to stay strong, to guard herself, but with every passing moment her defenses cracked. She remembered the countless times he had defended her ideas in meetings, the quiet nods of approval when she doubted herself, the rare smile when she achieved something small. Those weren't just memories anymore. They were signs she had ignored, convincing herself they meant nothing. And now, here he was, confirming every silent hope she'd buried. But what happens when a dream finally feels too real to handle? Emily's lips parted, ready to speak, but the words tangled in her throat. She wanted to say she felt the same. She wanted to say she was afraid. She wanted to say everything at once, but all that escaped was silence. Daniel stepped even closer, and suddenly the space between them vanished into a fragile tension. "Emily," he said softly, "you don't have to answer. Not now, just know this. You matter to me in ways I can't explain." Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. She had never seen him like this. Open, uncertain, almost broken. For a man who always carried strength like armor, his honesty felt more powerful than any polished speech. Her eyes stung with tears she didn't want to shed. "You're making it impossible to think clearly," she whispered. He gave a faint, bitter smile. "I stopped thinking clearly about you a long time ago." Her chest tightened. It was too much, too fast, too intense. She needed space to breathe, to sort her emotions, to protect her heart from a story that could collapse before it even began. But why does love always come at the most impossible time? Just as Emily opened her mouth to respond, Daniel's phone buzzed again on the desk. The name flashed once more, Claire. This time Emily couldn't stop herself. "Who is she?" Her voice cracked, heavy with both fear and demand. Daniel's expression shifted, his jaw tightening, his eyes clouding with something heavier than guilt. He hesitated, and that hesitation was enough to make Emily's stomach twist. "Daniel," she pressed, her voice sharper now. "Tell me." For a moment he seemed torn between silence and confession. Finally, he exhaled slowly, the weight in his chest visible in the way his shoulders dropped. "She was my fiancée," he said quietly. "Claire, we were engaged until last year." Emily's breath caught. 1,000 questions rose inside her, but none found their way out. Daniel's voice dropped lower. She left me, walked away when I thought we were building a life together. And yet, she won't stop calling. I've ignored her, avoided her, but I can't erase her from my past. The pain in his voice was unmistakable. He wasn't just confessing to Emily. He was unraveling in front of her. Was she stepping into love, or stepping into the ruins of someone else's heartbreak? Emily's chest ached. Part of her wanted to comfort him, to reach across the space and take away the sorrow etched into his face. But another part of her screamed with warning. If he still carried Claire's shadow, how could he truly see her? Her voice shook as she asked, "And now you're telling me all this?" With me sitting here? Daniel's eyes softened, his hand almost lifting before falling back to his side. "Because I don't want to repeat mistakes. Because I don't want to pretend with you. You deserve honesty, even if it scares you away." Tears blurred Emily's vision. Everything she had wanted, everything she had feared, had collided in one night, in one office, with one man. And it left her stranded between two truths: her feelings for him and the fear of stepping into something she might not survive. Would you risk your heart for someone who might already belong to another? Emily's pulse thundered in her ears as the weight of Daniel's words settled over her. His confession about Claire lingered like a shadow in the room. The past he carried was heavy, and now she was being pulled into it. His hand hovered near hers, trembling, waiting, offering hope but also carrying danger. Her mind screamed for clarity, but her heart only whispered confusion. Everything felt louder. The ticking clock on the wall, the muted hum of traffic outside, the silence pressing between them. She wasn't sure if she wanted to step forward or step back. Why do the choices that matter most come when you're least ready for them? Daniel's voice broke the silence, soft but steady. "Emily, I don't want to hurt you. That's the last thing I'd ever do. But when I look at you, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Something real." Her breath caught. She had waited her whole life for someone to say those words. But not like this. Not with another woman's name still echoing in the air. She swallowed hard. "You're asking me to believe you, when I don't even know if you're free from her." Daniel's shoulders slumped, his honesty cutting deeper than any lie could. "I'm free from her, but I'm not free from the pain she left behind." "That's the truth." Emily's chest tightened. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't pretending, but his scars were still open, and she wasn't sure if she was ready to step into the storm of his past. Could love really begin where heartbreak never ended? Daniel moved closer, his presence both comforting and overwhelming. "Emily," he said gently, "I don't want an answer tonight. I need you to know that I see you. Not as an employee, not as someone passing through my life. I see you." Her eyes stung with tears she didn't want to shed. His words were dangerous, intoxicating. She wanted to believe them, to fall into them, but fear held her back. She turned away, looking at the city lights beyond the glass. "Do you know what you're asking me to risk? My job, my reputation, my heart. Do you understand that if I choose this, everything changes?" He stepped behind her, close enough for his voice to feel like a whisper against her skin. "Everything's already changing. The moment I said your name tonight, the moment you stayed, it was never the same again." Her heart raced faster. The truth was undeniable. She had already crossed the line by staying, by listening, by caring more than she should. But what if saying yes meant losing herself in the process? Emily turned back to face him, her voice sharp with conflict. "I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can trust where this is going." Daniel's eyes softened, the vulnerability in them almost unbearable. "Then don't decide now. Just don't walk away from the possibility. That's all I'm asking." Her hands trembled. Possibility. That word echoed through her chest, filling her with equal parts hope and fear. She imagined what it could mean. Moments of happiness, stolen glances, a love that might finally feel real. But she also saw the risks, the whispers, the judgment, the heartbreak waiting if it all collapsed. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was thick, filled with everything they wanted to say but couldn't. Was she brave enough to step into something she couldn't control? Daniel reached out again, his hand waiting. His eyes begged her to take it, but he didn't push. He gave her the choice. Emily stared at his hand, her own hovering, frozen in indecision. Every part of her screamed in two directions, toward safety and toward him. Finally, she whispered, "What if I can't handle the weight of your past?" Daniel's voice cracked, heavy with emotion. "Then I'll carry it for both of us. Just don't leave me standing here alone." Her heart ached. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust that his pain could turn into something new, something better. But she had no guarantee, no certainty, only a choice staring her in the face. What if the love she wanted most was also the risk that could break her? Emily's fingers trembled, inching closer to his. The moment stretched, fragile and endless, like the universe was holding its breath. She could almost feel the warmth of his skin, the promise of something unspoken, the danger of everything ahead. Her chest tightened, her throat burned with unspoken words, and her heart whispered one question she couldn't escape. Was she about to step into love? Or into ruin?